Hey y'all, and welcome back to CC Combos. Today I'll be giving an update on my big chop and prop of my Monstera. And man, is this a saga. And if you haven't been following this, I would recommend looking at these other videos that I made. They'll go more in depth so you kind of understand what is going on. I have a short where I actually chop the plant so you can kind of see what it looked like before. I'm going to give a quick recap and a little history about this plant. So this is the top cutting. As you can see, these leaves are pretty huge. And this is actually a little baby plant that came off of where I chopped the big plant. And I saved the base that I had originally chopped off just in case this top propagation would not work. We had some freezing temperatures come here in Texas recently, and instead of bringing the whole big pot of dirt and the plant in, I just decided to cut it off and propagate it. And as you can see, it's starting to grow some roots. So this is my backup. So I've experienced root rot with this plant multiple times, and I've been able to save it with hydrogen peroxide, chopping it, re-rooting it in water, and it seemed to be going well. I transplanted in soil, and I thought all was good until I noticed some yellowing on the lowest leaf. And I was like, oh, that maybe is normal, like it's using its energy for the roots and not the leaves. But then I noticed where the newest leaf was supposed to come out, that was starting to yellow. And I was like, that's weird, like I've never seen that. But then again, I was like, oh, maybe it just needs more energy to form these roots. Like these are huge leaves. But then the bottom leaves started getting more yellow, and I was like, okay, this might be an issue. Like I might have root rot. So I decided to take out the pot, look at the roots, and when I did, there was some root rot. So I had cleaned it up with some hydrogen peroxide and repotted it in something that was a little bit more airy. And it was still yellowing. So I was like, oh my gosh. I then decided to buy like a Monstera soil that had like lava rocks, and I was like, okay, maybe it's just staying wet too long. So then I got all the soil. I spent like $50, and I was ready to repot it. Well, when I took it out, the root ball, it looked horrible. Like it was so small and all of them are mushy. And I was like, this is pretty bad. But I decided, okay, we're gonna put it back in the soil and see what it does. It was in that pot for a couple of weeks and it seemed okay, but then my cat decided to jump up and knock it over. And I was kind of annoyed at the time, but I'm actually kind of happy that he did do that, because when I looked at the roots, they looked even worse than before. They were even more mushy, and the root ball was so small. I was like, if it keeps going at this point, it'll probably just kill the whole plant. So I needed to go into some sort of rescue mode. And what I could think of was I would just chop off all the roots, chop off the rotted bottom. We'll sterilize it all in hydrogen peroxide, and we'll just cut it into 2 cuttings so that it's not as large and doesn't require like as much energy, and try it again. Thought to be maybe the most successful, especially with re-rooting it, would be to take 2 cuttings, especially because these leaves are so large. So this is one. This is the middle cutting. You can see how thick that base is. This one is showing some signs of like roots are going to form, because I see all this like little white stuff. So this one seems like it will root, but this leaf is not looking good. It's probably hard to see kind of in this lighting, but it's getting a lot of yellowing on it. So it looks kind of splotchy rather than a pretty green. It is really hard to see on the camera. But over here I'm seeing some splotchiness. So I do feel like this leaf is going to turn completely yellow. But if it does die off, hopefully it'll have some roots and it'll have a little shoot. Now for the top cutting in this 5-gallon bucket. And it is not showing any signs of roots right now. And this lowest leaf has gotten a little bit damaged. This damage on the leaf is actually from my cat knocking this over. So that was also a reason why I was like, let's just start over. But this leaf is definitely on its way out. As you can see, it is yellowing quite a bit. So this one I think is going to fall off for sure. Hopefully this top one stays, but we'll see. As of right now, I'm just changing the water every few days, at least once a week, and seeing if these big cuttings will root, and if they do, hopefully they will survive in soil this time and not rot. But I think if both cuttings survive, I'm going to try one in some sort of like pon or leca. I'm very interested in those soil mediums and I've never tried them, so I think this might be the time to try something like that. And then the other one I'd put in soil so I can see kind of which one does better. And this one, which is my just in case, I'm thinking it's probably gonna go in some sort of semi-hydro, but it's doing pretty good. This one has been in water longer than these big cuttings. The big cuttings have been in there for about a week, and they're showing, one of the cuttings is showing signs of like where roots are gonna come from, which is this middle cutting. Well, that's it for this quick update. And if you'd like to tag along on this journey, please consider subscribing as we trial and error a bunch of different things to try and save this plant. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next one.